Welcome back to Studio 33 Art by Kay. A lot of you would have seen a video I did recently creating my little crystal here, which has turned out very nice. It's only small, but I've wanted to now try and see if I can actually make a rubber mould out of it. Now, I haven't sprayed it with anything. I did see a lady on YouTube, I can't remember her name, I think it was Petra, who she actually sprayed hers with a gloss varnish, but then she had trouble with it sticking. So I'm just going to try it just without anything to protect it and see what happens. Look, it could all turn to, you know what, but I have got another one in the process of developing another crystal. So if this doesn't work, then I've got my new one to try it on. So what I've got is just a little plastic cup, which I'm going to use as my mold housing. So I've popped that over the top of my little crystal to make sure I've got enough room around. Now that's got plenty of room around. I probably could get away with one that's a bit smaller than that, but some of the crystals are sort of poking sideways, so I didn't want it to be too thin, too close to the edge. So I'm going to run with this one. So I'm just going to cut that to size. So I'm looking through. I want to allow about 1 centimetre above the last crystal. So I'm just going down to eye height, going to there. I reckon I need to come to about, oops, this line here. So I'm just going to cut round there with a little pair of scissors. I could actually come a bit higher because I don't want the rubber to overflow. So I'll just come a couple of lines higher. It's where these cups with the lines on them are good because it gives you a line to cut around so you know you're straight. Not that it really matters. But when I pour my rubber in, I can also get a good idea if I'm straight. Now, after I've done this, I will move my little mould onto an area that's completely level. This little tray is a leveling tray, so I'll just lift up the whole tray and take it over to a different area to set up. Takes about 6 hours for this rubber to set up, and it is the SILICONE brand, which I've bought here in Australia. But there's many different types on the market. So wherever you are in the world, just have a bit of a look and see which ones there are and whether they're going to be a soft or a hard. Some of them dry very hard. This one has a shore hardness of 15A, so it's quite soft and flexible. This is a previous mold I've made. You can see it's very flexible. So yeah, just do your research there. So I'm going to be doing equal parts of part A and B by weight. So always make sure whether it's by weight or by volume, because it will make a difference. So I'll mix that up in a second. But in the meantime, I'll just show you what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of contact. This is a fairly thick one. Some of the contacts you get are actually really thin, and I find them difficult to work with. For instance, some of the ones that you get from some of the some of the cheaper stores, their contacts are very thin. So I'm just going to try and put that basically in the center. Because that's sticky, my little crystals should stick to that. And I pressed that too hard and I just broke one off. So be careful. Your crystals are delicate and it's as easy as that to break one off. So now I'm just going to place my little housing here as close to the center as I can, which is difficult because I'm trying not to get my head in the way of the camera. So I'll just have a little look, bring it over a bit closer to me. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yep. Okay. Now, as I say, I could have done one that was just a little bit smaller than this, but some of these little crystals are actually sticking out sideways, so I wanted to make sure that I had it covered. Now, if you have any leftover bits of rubber from when you've pulled out, that one came out of the housing that I'd done previously on something else, you can actually cut that up and pop it in to bulk it up. I'm not going to do that today because I've got such delicate areas that I want to make sure that they're very detailed, but you can certainly don't throw away any of your leftover bits of rubber or your failed moulds, because you can cut them up and pop them in to fill up the volume if you've got a large piece that you're doing. Now what I'm going to do now is I've got a hot glue gun, which I've only just learned how to use, and I'm going to just glue around the edge to stop any of the rubber running out from underneath. I did a bit of a trial rubber mould about a month ago and I didn't do that, and sure enough the rubber leaked underneath, and it not just leaked, but once it started it poured, and I had literally rubber going everywhere. It was such a mess. So I've learned best to take the time to seal off the base. Being that it's on top of the contact paper, it should be okay, but I have had one leak just the same when I've used the contact as well. So I'm just now going to seal up, hopefully, around the edge here. If I can get my glue gun to run properly. There we go. So I'll just be back in a sec when I finish doing this. Okay, so I've now sealed that up, hopefully, but I will keep coming back and checking every few minutes. When I've first done the poured in my rubber, because just in case I haven't sealed something off properly and it starts to leak everywhere, and then I can just heat up my glue gun and seal it. Okay, so off I go, and I'll mix up my rubber and I'll be straight back. So I've put 71 grams of each, the A and the B, and now it says to mix it for about 5 minutes. So that is what I will do, and I'll come back. And just like when you're mixing up your resin, make sure you scrape around the edges and that you wipe your stick off, and then keep stirring. Exactly the same to make sure that you've integrated both A and B together really, really well. Some of the silicone rubbers, they come in like one of them that I tried, which was a much harder setting one. It had a pink for part A and a blue for part B. And when you mix them together, it got purple or mauve. So that was really easy to see that it all mixed in, whereas this one, because it's all white, it's much more difficult to see. So I'm just definitely going to mix it for the 5 minutes. Okay, well, I believe that's long enough. Now, I've been told that if you hold it up high and let it run from a height, it will help to get rid of any bubbles. So I will do that. So fingers crossed. Now, I did run my fingers over the crystals beforehand just to get rid of any. There was a little bit of loose pieces, just, you know, a little bit of loose dust, and I sort of just wiped that off with my fingers. Don't know if I could have run it under the tap or not. I was scared I was going to dissolve the crystals or something. So anyway, let's see what happens. Could all turn in total disaster, but at least then you'll know. And I will know as well. Now, if I haven't made up enough rubber, because I've just guesstimated how much, I can make up another little batch and pour it on top, and it won't be a problem, apparently. So I'm told. here we go. Just nice and slow. Whoop. I shall just remove that bit that just dropped down the side there, because I don't want that making a mark on my mould. Oops. Okay, here we go again. Slow and up high. I'm just letting the rubber just make its own path. Fingers crossed it doesn't just dissolve my crystals. Things I do for experimentation. Oops, I just realised I've totally covered over the camera there. Sorry. Just trying to get up high though. I'll move this over this way a little bit. You'll be able to see, hopefully. Could change the angle of the camera a little bit more. Does that help? A little bit. Haven't got one of those fancy setups where I've got, you know, 3 different cameras set up around the room or anything. Just my one iPhone. Yeah, I'm thinking to cover that final crystal, probably might need more resin. More rubber. I could have done a mathematical calculation and worked out the volume, you know, pi r squared times whatever. I'm not that much of a mathematician though. So I go by guessing, calculated guess. Oh, well, I'm nearly covered over. So that's good. I really would like it to be about 1 centimetre deep at this top end, just to make sure the crystals are covered and so that I don't poke a hole through at any point. It is covered. It was a pretty good guess. Just scrape out as much as I can. And like when you're doing resin, sometimes it's better not to scrape out because there could still be some parts that haven't mixed completely well at the very bottom there. Wow, that was very, very close to being enough. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. I can't see the crystals poking through, so I'm hoping that I've just gotten away with that. I would have liked probably a couple more grams in there. But I can't see the little pointy bits poking through. So I shall assume that it's at least covered. And I'll just have to be careful when I demold. So you can see a couple of little bubbles on there. Coming to the surface quite nicely. I'll just wipe off any of these bits from around the edge so that I can tell if it's leaking or not. Doesn't look like I've got any leaks at the moment. Now, I've seen people just blowing with a straw just to get rid of any of those little bubbles. Which it did do. Oops, get you back straight again. So just gently blowing with the straw, just burst those little bubbles off the top. So I'll come back and just do that a couple of times. So now I'm just going to place it in an area where it's nice and level. And it says 6 to 7 hours to dry. So this is coming up for 11 o'clock in the morning. So 6 hours will be 5 o'clock this afternoon. So I'll leave it until about 6 o'clock. And then I'll come back and demold, fingers crossed. Okay, so it's now just after 6 p.m. This is nice and set up. It does have a little bit of damage to it. When I covered it up to protect it, something actually dropped in it. So that was a shame, but it hasn't affected the mould in any way. So now I'm just going to pull it off the base, hopefully. It's really stuck onto the... Here we go. The contact paper really does stick on very well. There we go. And it always feels very sticky, the contact. It seems to sort of stop it from... it's set everywhere else, as you can see. That's really well set. And that'll be very sticky just there where it was under the contact. But obviously I'll be pulling that bit off anyway. So I'll cut around that. So just lift it up. Give it a bit of a trim around with a little pair of scissors. As I say, that is quite sticky under there, and I have found that with other moulds that I've done. For some reason the contact stops the rubber from setting. Not sure why, but the rest of it's all set up really nicely. So okay, so now I'm just going to cut the moulding off from the side. So I'll just get a little pair of scissors, make a bit of a crack in that, and then just pull it back and pull it off. So that releases from that little casing really, really easily. Now, is it going to release from the crystal? I hope so. I won't lose too many bits in there. Gently press it out. Oops, it's falling apart. Now the crystal is falling apart. So my experiment failed. And it's literally gone into a million pieces. So you do need to coat your crystal in something like varnish. I'm still hopeful that if I can get the bits out of the mould, that the shape will still be in there, even though the crystal itself is destroyed. So all is not yet lost. It's just my crystal doesn't look like what it used to look like. I've seen online people actually turning all those bits into little druzzy moulds. Flat ones, you know, so you can spread that all around into some resin and then do a mould of all of that. So I'm getting most of this out. So it could actually still work, other than the fact I haven't got my original anymore. So I might just need to get a pair of tweezers and finish getting the rest of that out. Most of it's come out. Okay, so we'll leave it there, guys. I will continue to just get the last couple of bits out of there. And then I will attempt to do a resin mould and see how that comes out, because it looks like the shape's there. So anyway, I shall continue on with this video and show you the results of the resin I pour. Okay, see you soon.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Studio 33 Art by Kay. I'm just now about to pour some resin into this silicone mould I made of my crystal that I grew. I'm going to use let's get it here, the Platinum River Table Epoxy. And excuse my muffled voice because I am wearing my mask. I refuse to do any resining without wearing it. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. Otherwise I'll do a voiceover. So I'm using this particular resin because it has a very low viscosity. So we'll be able to get into all the little nooks and crannies really easily. And also, it can be poured up to 5 centimetres deep, and this piece is at least 2 to 3 centimetres deep. If I use one of the quicker set resins, they only supposed to go to 1 centimetre, so if I go deeper than that, it can flash cure, which could damage my mould because it would get very, very hot. So I just use these little yogurt containers to mix my resins mostly, and then I just let the leftovers just dry in there. I scrape out as much as I can, and then I can just use them again. So it's a really good way to, not have to clean up too much afterwards. So I'm going to colour these with the this Little Piggy colours. I'm going to use Enchantment, Whitehaven and Constellation. So I'll just divide what I've got here. I've mixed up 75 grams. I think I only need 50. And then anything left over, I'll make some little pendants, or I've got some little rose moulds there. I'll make up some little roses or whatever. I always have moulds hanging around to use up the little bits. And the grandkids love to come and go through my jar that I have with all my leftovers creations, and they love to collect those as well. So it's a real little great thing to do with the grandkids. So I'm just going to take a little scoop of the powder. I usually probably put too much in, but never mind. I'll put about that much into there. Again, that's why I need to wear my mask, because these powders, if they get into your lungs, it's not a good thing. And it's very, very easy just to wear a mask. So this is the Whitehaven. Just popping a little bit into there. That one. And this resin takes, I think, 24 hours to set up. So I've got a fairly good working time, so I'm not in a panic to get it mixed up. And this colour is Constellation. Beautiful colour, beautiful deep purple. I love my pigments. Okay, so I'm just going to mix those up. Make sure that they mix through really well. And then I'm just going to kind of randomly pour it into the mould there. I did do another little mould test one, but I put quite a lot of glitter in it, and I think it kind of took away the sharpness of the edges, so they weren't quite as clear. So I thought I'll just do one just with the pigments, so I think it will turn out better. And also with the thinner resin as well. Just giving them a good mix. So this river table epoxy is a 2-to-1 resin, so it's 2 parts of A, 1 part B. And I've made up about 75 grams. So that Whitehaven's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous, these colours. Constellation, Divine, and the other one was Enchantment. It's just beautiful too. Look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to pour these in a bit at a time, just let them organically mix. So I'm not too worried about how it goes in. I'll just put some over one side and then some of the other colour over the other side, and then just let them blend. So the bottom bits should be pretty much individual colours, and then the rest of it will kind of blend in together. And the Whitehaven through the middle. Probably want a little bit less of that. Want it to be mostly the purples. So I'm just going to have to be patient and wait till tomorrow for this to set up. Whereas I like using the quick set resins because within a couple of hours you can use them, but you have to be careful. If you go over the 1 centimetre, they can get very, very hot and you can sort of damage your mould really. Just want to take it all the way up to the top. I'm just going to let those mix however they want. Let the resin gods be in charge of that. Okay, that looks pretty full, maybe a tiny bit more. So I've got a bit of the white left, but the other 2 colours I haven't got much left. So I reckon that would have been about the 50 ml of resin in there. Just give it a small, get rid of those big bubbles. I'll give it a gentle tap just to try and get the resin down into any of those little nooks and crannies without splattering it all over myself. You can spray this with alcohol to burst the bubbles on the top there. What I find when you do that, it breaks the surface tension, and particularly if I'm doing little pendants, if they've been sort of domed up, when I spray it with the alcohol to get rid of the bubbles, it breaks the surface tension, and then the resin just runs everywhere. So you're really better off just bursting them by hand if you can, I feel. Okay, I'll just give a little swizzle around. bit of a pattern on the bottom. Not that you'll see this part, so it will be underneath. Those two colours blend so well together. Gorgeous. Go, bubble, go. Okay. So I'll now leave that for 24 hours and we'll see what we get tomorrow morning. Okay, I'll see you back here then. Bye-bye.
Okay, so it's now the next day. It's been 20 hours since I poured this, so it's going to be very interesting to see. I just wanted to show you though, this is one of the little moulds I bought from Julie Cuts Pouring Your Heart Out, which is a great little mould to use when you've got little bits of resin left over. And I've got this other little rose one as well, which comes down to this tiny, tiny little rose. There's the mould when it came out, so tiny. You can use even the last little drop of your resin in there. So these are the little roses. Can you see? It's hard to see there. They came out beautifully. And these are the little ones out of the Julie Cuts mould there. So they're beautiful. You can make pendants out of those, or my grandkids just like collecting them in all the different colours. They're just collectibles really for them, which is great. Yeah, so that's how you can use up your last little bits when you've got any bits left over. So having a look at this, it really looks quite cool in the top there, where the pigment has kind of created all these veins. Looks amazing. But that's not what we're going for, that's the bottom. So let's try and get this one out and see what we achieved by using pigments. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it out easily enough. Bit of a tug. Oh, I did cut my finger slightly yesterday demolding some resin. It can be quite sharp, so be careful, guys. It's stuck. Oh, here she comes. It's got lots of little nooks and crannies in this mould where I've created the crystals myself. They've got lots of little tiny bits in there. This is a bit stuck there. Oh, and she's out. Oh, then I pulled a bit of the mould out with it, but anyway, not to worry. Okay, so now let's have a look. Okay, well that's not too bad. It's not perfect by a long shot, but it's not bad either. Okay, so next time I will try spraying the crystals with some varnish just to see if it seals them off better, so I won't have so many tiny little spiky bits perhaps, and maybe my crystal won't break into a million pieces. So that'll be my next experiment, but so far from homegrown crystals, that's not too bad. Okay, so I'll bring you in for a close-up. Well, here it is, my little homemade crystals with a homemade silicone mould, and now my resin duplicate of that. And I've used this Little Piggy pigments in here, and it's actually quite beautiful. It's lots of imperfections. I can see little bubbles in there, so I'll have to be more careful when I'm pouring the resin. I use the platinum river table epoxy, which is a more slow setting resin, but all in all it's quite lovely. I'll just give you the side view. So lots of things I can work on, but really for the first go I'm quite happy with that. What do you think, guys? Do you like it? Was it worth doing? Okay, well, I'll see you back here in Studio 33 in the not too distant future. Until then, stay safe. Bye-bye.